So yeah, welcome everybody. I'm going to give you a little demo of Maptio and have time for your questions. We're a small little group, so if there's anything that's not making sense or a question is popping while I'm talking, please just feel free to unmute yourselves. I'm going to try and keep it really brief, and then I'll just answer the questions that you've got. You can always check out the Maptio website for a little bit more. But let me just share my screen and position what we're doing today. So yeah, Maptio is one of these tools for mapping out organizations that don't lean on old-fashioned management hierarchy, which I think is why pretty much everyone is at the Sociocracy for All conference. And you might be thinking at this stage, like, yeah, another mapping tool, because there's a whole bunch of us with tools that are in some ways similar and in some ways different to Maptio. And it's been really nice to see this ecosystem of different tools that all work in slightly different ways starting to build. So I thought where I would start is just to show you where Maptio fits into this ecosystem of all of the tools that are out there. And this will hopefully help the ones who Maptio is really right for gravitate towards it. And for the ones it's not right for, you can find a tool that really meets your needs. There's really just three things about where Maptio fits. So really, we've designed Maptio to be super simple and undogmatic. So it certainly works for teams who are inspired by Sociocracy, but it's not a sort of a very strict version of Sociocracy. People use it in all kinds of different ways. And we've generally tried to keep the feature set as light as possible, not trying to take over all of the other tools that you use for collaboration. And we're prioritizing in our development, trying to make it ever more joyful and easy to use. And there's lots more we want to do on that, but that's the direction that we're heading in. Secondly, we are an open source tool, and hopefully that will make some of you cheer inside at least. So we really believe in public goods that contribute to the global commons. And so Maptio, yeah, is an open source product, which means, yay, at least one little celebration. Thank you, John. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that later on, but that's certainly a thing that lots of people are fans of, and that's really core to our ethos here. And then thirdly, we're part of the gift economy now, and actually this is a little announcement. As of today, we've been experimenting with more flexible ways of pricing, with the view to trying to make Maptio available, accessible to everybody globally, doing anything purposeful in the world that really needs to be done, regardless of their financial means. And again, I'm going to explain a bit more about that later on. So if you gravitate towards that, simple and undogmatic, open source and gift economy, and that makes your heart come alive a little bit, then I'm glad you're here, and I'll show you a bit more of the tool now. So here we go. So let's dive into Maptio. So let's start by zooming all the way out. So the heart of Maptio, as you can see here, is a visualization in a pattern of nested circles. And so in Maptio, circles can represent whatever you want them to represent. So as I said in the introduction, Maptio is not a super dogmatic tool. So circles can represent things like domains or teams or other areas of responsibility, depending exactly how you organize. They can also represent roles. Probably for many of you in the Sociocracy world, you'll have circles representing things like domains. So I've just created just a silly one here, a demo circle doing essential things. You can add tags to circles to say a little bit with a bit of color about what that circle is about. Maybe it's to do with a particular goal, or that this circle represents a team, it's something customer facing, or maybe flagging up its status. But you can customize your own set of tags to give things, some more color and explain what your circles are. And then inside, if you want to represent roles, again, I've just put in some silly ones just for fun because it's late on a Friday. Just to show you what kind of roles we've got in this circle. So if I look at a tree trimmer, for example, I can then see who's holding that role. I've got a little colored tag to remind me that this circle represents a role. You can define the purpose, accountabilities, whatever you like in there. That's essentially a free text field. So that's the basic circle structure, but you don't have to do it that way. I'm actually also a big fan of having a people first rather than roles first view. So an example of that over here in developing the technology, if I click on this, rather than having roles front and center, we have the different things people are actually working on. So the sub-initiatives, and then showing the people who are working on those different things. And if I look at this one here, if I hover over someone, then I can see what roles they have. So it depends what you want to really bring to the surface, whether roles should be the most visible thing, or whether it's really people, and then a role is a thing that a person has done. I have my preference, but we try to make Maptio undogmatic so that you can do things your way. You can also link out to other documents, tools, and systems that might be used by a particular circle. So here, for example, we're linking out to Trello boards, Slack channels, Google Docs. So this is where you can link out to any other places where you might be storing things like governance, for example. So you might have meeting minutes or agreements. So again, we're not trying to take over all of those other tools, because many people are quite happily using Notion, Google Docs, other tools for those things. And you can just very simply link to them. So we keep it super simple in that way. So let me show you some other views that we have in Maptio. So the view we're looking at here is a circle view that lets you really sort of explore and browse around the initiative. So as you click on circles, as we saw just now, they open up and you can explore the ever more detailed layers. You can also click on the expanded view, and if I zoom out from this circle, this just shows you your map with everything open at once. When you want to get the overview, this is quite useful when you're first building the map. With the circle view as well, if you like, you can share it in public. So if you enable this feature, which I've already done here, I get a link like so, and if I click on this, it will load a public version of the map. So this just strips out all of the app surroundings and just gives you a nice, clean, simple map that you can just provide anyone the hyperlink to, and they can view this without having to log in. And it can be searched, like for our tree trimmer role that we were looking at earlier. That's the public maps, so you can embed that on other websites as well if you would like to. We also have other views. There is a network view. So this shows you the connections between people if they're in one or more circles on the map together. So you can start to get a sense of who's in similar places in your organization to others. And then we also have the directory view as well. So this shows everyone that you have in your team. And if I click on somebody, let's click on me, for example, I can then see a list of all of the places where I appear on the map. So which circles am I in some kind of leading role? I can see where all those places are, who else is involved in those things. Or I can click on the helper tab and show other places in the map where I'm not a lead, but I have some other role to play. So those are the different views. Yeah, also in the directory view, you can see vacancies as well. So inside any circle, you can create a role vacancy, which just means you're looking for someone to fill it, obviously. And then all of those vacancies will appear in the directory inside this vacancies tab. All right, so a few other things to let you know about. Inside your Maptio account, if you set one up for your organization, you can have as many of these maps as you like. There's no limit at all on that. So it's one group of people, but unlimited maps. That can be really useful if you want to archive your map to keep a historical record of how you've evolved. You can just take a copy of the map as many times as you like and keep those forever. Other people use this for modeling new structures. So if you're thinking about making some changes, you can clone the map, make some changes, and then if you want to, you could delete the old map or archive it and then use the new map as your new point of reference. So that is that. And then let me show you how our pricing works if I go to our main Maptio website. So this is where we're evolving. So you'll see on our website right now, you don't have to read all of this, but we charge per organization rather than per user. And we're doing that so that you've just got one simple cost per month that you know that you're paying. But the really novel way we've done this is we don't actually enforce which price band you're in. So we've said who it's intended for, whether you're a really small team or maybe under 35 or under 250. But actually you pick the price point that works for you. And this is part of the experiment in the gift economy. And we've actually already, happily disproved this idea of people acting only in their rational self-interest or selfish interest even. That people do really pay what they're able to pay. And you can see we even put the discount codes on the website. So this is how our pricing works right now. And we're looking at going even further than this. So we're actually going to even introduce free accounts as well. So we recognize that in some parts of the world or some initiatives are in a real situation where there are no money flows at all for anything, and sometimes even a $10 a month subscription is a big expense that's maybe not affordable. But as a purpose-driven initiative ourselves, we want Maptio to be available to everyone. So that is what we're going to try and do. So it's a bit of an experiment, but you guys are really welcome to try this. It's the free accounts are not advertised live on the site, but for anyone watching this video or here on the call live, if you want to take a Maptio account for a sum of money that really suits you, you can just ping us an email and we'll make it happen for you. So let's see how this goes. I have great faith in humanity and in our ecosystem. So that is Maptio pricing. And then open source, which I mentioned earlier. So as you'd imagine, all of our code is available for anybody to download, install, use, modify to their heart's content without any cost to us. If you're technical, obviously, this will probably appeal to many. But even if not, and you just want to be a bit more involved, you can submit issues. Like if you find a bug, for example, you can report it here, and then we prioritize them and fix them as fast as we can. You can also make suggestions in here if there's a feature or something you'd like to see that we can consider. You could help, for example, by translating Maptio. We exist in a bunch of languages: English, French, German, Japanese, Polish, and we'd love to see more on there. So if you'd like to help translate, then you can do that and contribute to the open source project. And of course, if you want, you can create your own fork of the project to take it in your own direction, and there are only a few sort of minor restrictions on being able to do that, because we are, as I said, certifiably open source. And we're really interested in, and we're already getting requests for things like partnerships and joint ventures. If you wanted a system that's a bit like Maptio but going in a slightly different direction, then you could make that project happen, and perhaps we could work on it together. Or maybe you need a custom version of Maptio specifically for your organization, where you can host it on servers in a location of your choosing, with therefore the highest degree of privacy and security that's possible. We can make that happen. And actually this week we've actually just had our first contributors who are outside of the Maptio company itself, who are contributing back to it now. And actually the work they're doing is going to make it a bit easier for other people to install it as an open source project. So so there's lots more that we can do on this. So if this appeals to anyone, just drop us a line, get in touch, and we'll see how we can work together on it. Okay, so before I hand over for questions, I'll check the chat in a minute as well, because I can't multitask. So just to give you a heads up on some of the future developments on Maptio, we've actually just come towards the end of a big upgrade of the underlying software architecture, which doesn't show much on the front end, but makes it much easier for us to enhance and modify Maptio in the future. And the first things that we're doing on top of that will be very front-end facing. So in the spirit of making Maptio ever simpler and more joyful to use, we're refactoring the parts of the system that we think most slow people down or are frustrating to use. So this tree editor on the left, where you can edit circles and add things to the map, works okay, but to be honest, I think it's a bit clunky. So we've got a big overhaul of that coming. Secondly, this user interface that has these two panels that sort of spring out from the left-hand side, we're overhauling that as well. So that's coming up soon. And then finally, we're planning to make Maptio much more extendable and integratable with other tools and systems and data sources. So at the moment, the Maptio runs on what's called a document database. So a map is considered as a document that's stored in a database, but we're going to move to a relational database model. Don't worry if you're technical and this jargon means nothing to you, but basically it means there'll be a lot more scope to customize Maptio, to have custom fields for things like circles and people and roles, to have an API, lots of integrations with other systems. But yeah, but hiding that technical complexity in the background, so it's nice and simple to use. So that, my friends, is a very quick whistle-stop tour of Maptio. I hope that was concise and clear enough. And I'd love to take your questions. I can see there's a few in the chat already. Is it suitable for more than 250? Yeah, we've tested it up to about 500 or so people. It probably will support more than that. So if you want to go larger than that, just drop us a line and we'll test it out together. We can get your data imported and make sure that it's a good fit. And certainly as we move to the new data model, it will certainly support thousands of people. So that's that. And then Adrian, you've asked, you're interested in the ways we can visualize the circle structure. Yeah, so thank you for asking that. Yeah, and part of our big technical upgrade is actually going to make it much, much easier to try out all sorts of different visualizations. I'm really lucky that my lead software engineer, Romek, on Maptio, he actually has a background in really hardcore visualization, like brain imaging, 3D kind of stuff. So he's very good at maths, as you'd imagine. But yeah, we're planning to build more ways of visualizing the data. So in particular, I know for sociocracy people, you tend to prefer having things fractal, so starting in the middle and expanding outwards, whereas others prefer the more kind of nested circles vibe. So we're gonna add that in the future. It's not too big a job, simply because the libraries for that kind of visualization already exist. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. So that will be coming. So if you use Maptio and you feel like, yeah, it's kind of, good enough for now, and you want to support open source and get on the bus, then you can be voting for that feature and just keep hassling us about it. And that makes a big difference. When customers are really saying this is what we need, we listen to that, and that informs our development. And there's probably nothing that would make Romek happier than building a new visualization. So hopefully that answered those two questions, but feel free to just unmute yourselves if you've got anything else. We've still got sort of 10 minutes left. Any questions? Oh yeah,
I have a couple of questions. If I could go, I'll let you know them. So is this suitable for self-use, like self-organizing and organizing the multiple areas where you are involved and with whom you are involved, etc.? Have you tried that?
Yes, exactly. That's how many people use it. One thing we've been working on is making Maptio have better support for multiple users editing all at once. So the direction we're heading in is Maptio will become more and more like a tool like Miro or Google Docs, where you can see in real time as people are changing and editing things. Okay. It's not that good yet, but that's the direction we're heading.
Okay, so probably also use it as a way to organize your friends' circles or the circles that you are involved in and the things that you are. So I'm just looking at it not from an organization from inside or the organization itself, but as a way to organize myself and the realms where I'm related with and working with, right? So that's also a go. Two last things. I would be willing to. I'm answering and I'm asking and I'm answering at the same time, just for the sake of time here. So it's yes, right?
Yes, exactly. And I think, although I only know at a high level what your use case is, the best thing to do is set up a free trial account, no obligation, and have a play with it. Start adding some circles in, add some tags into the circles, start putting people in and see if it works for you. You can also book a Zoom call with us as well. You'll see when you set up a free trial, there'll be a button at the top. jump on a Zoom call and we can figure it out together and see if it works.
Okay, so the last two things quick. One is translation. Do you have anybody in Portuguese helping you?
Not yet. We have actually talked to some people in Brazil, actually. So I'm really hoping that's quite high up on the list.
Okay.
So we'd like to get that going. Is that what you need? Yeah. Or do you want to help?
Well, not necessarily need, but offering help.
Ah, you're a
In that
star.
sense. Okay.
You're hired.
And the last but not least, because this is relevant, where are you physically based?
Yeah, so Maptio, the company, is based in the UK. The data is stored on a mixture of US and European servers. Unless you go down the open source route, if you have your own installation of it, then you've got complete choice over exactly where it is. But the hosted version is EU and US data.
And you are in the UK yourself?
I'm in the UK, that's right, yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
My pleasure. Any other questions? Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I'm curious about how easy it is now, or like where it is on your roadmap in terms of integrating Maptio with other pieces of software, particularly in terms of like an API. Like I have like, you know, some kind of CRM database driven, something happens over here and I want to like say, oh yeah, add this person to a circle and like talk to Maptio and do that kind of thing.
Yeah, my hope is we're going to start working on the new data model probably this summer, so in the next few months. So once we finish the couple of very front-end focused pieces that I mentioned earlier, that's the next priority. We've actually got, a potential customer who wants a bespoke build who really needs that. And so that might be great because that will hopefully fund that work, which will obviously all be open sourced for everyone. So hopefully we'll start work in the summer. Exactly how long it will take, I couldn't tell you because it's software and you never know, but I really hope it's going to be this year. In the meantime, we've been doing just bespoke integrations for people. So we do that work always at cost price. So we just, it's not a thing that we're trying to have as a profit center to make money out of. We just do it as a thing to enable someone to get what they need. So depending on the complexity, and the best thing to do is email support@maptio.com saying, this is the data source and what we've got and how we'd like that to go into Maptio. And then we can give you a sense of what might be involved. Or you can wait till later in the year till we've got the upgraded data model, and then it will be, organized much more easily. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Adrian, your question was, how is our company organized in terms of how we work? So we're really tiny. There's mostly two of us working on Maptio. So we're able to just work really informally. But actually the core principle of how we work is not so much an organizational model, but based on what are called the source principles, which some of you might be aware of. It's a thing I actually wrote a book about called Work with Source. But really seeing everyone in the company as their own founder who has their own sense of purpose and their own vision, and we collaborate in ways that enable people to live their own calling or purpose in life. The book is called Work with Source, and it's not available on Amazon, but if you Google Work with Source, you'll find it. Thank you for the question. Any other questions?
Could you provide us with any contact to you so that we would not have to go to looking at the link, etc.? Is there anything that you could write on the chat?
Certainly. Let me
WhatsApp or any email or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say I'll put the support email address in there because then that goes to both Romek and I. So you'll get a reply from us. So that's the best one to contact us. If it's something just for me personally, like a partnership or something more bespoke, you can email me direct. And there's also a contact form on the website, which is just maptio.com. And then for anyone watching the video, I'll just share my screen again. I believe I have a slide for that. Yes, there we go. So those are the contact details. All right. So there's about a minute left. Any final questions? I think we've pretty much used our time.
What's the other organization that's working with you all more recently to like do some of the new features?
Yes, there's a food cooperative in Poland who want to use Maptio, and they're huge open source advocates. So that's why they found us, and then they've teamed up with another organization who help purpose-driven initiatives with open source. So between the three of us, we're starting to work together. Yeah, and the first thing they're doing is making it a bit easier to install. There's still a lot more to do. The main drawback is Maptio relies on some third-party services. So the big priority and a chunk of the work is to extrapolate out those other services so that the whole stack can be fully free. So it's fun. It's happening kind of live right now. Drop us a line if you're ever interested and you can see how far we've got, or maybe even contribute to it. Yes, and Adrian, you said, can you play in the platform? Absolutely. If you just go to maptio.com and say start a free trial, and you'll get straight in there. And if you need a bit longer, I think it gives you 2 weeks by default. If you need a bit longer, that's totally cool. Just give us a shout and we'll happily extend it. We are here to serve you all.